Chapter 35. Chapter 35. Follow me. Young Pavilion Master. The four great elders walked before Jianghu. Then Elder Hong said, "We are here to thank you. Sword Pavilion would have fallen into the hands of Red Marshal Hall if you hadn't defeated Jian Menger." Senior Yuan said, "Yes, you were magnificent, young Pavilion Master. It was amazing that it only took 2 months for you to surpass Jian Menger. You are definitely the son of the Pavilion Master." Senior Qing proudly said, When I heard that you, young Pavilion Master, would have a battle with Jian Menger, I was sure that you could defeat her." Senior Li refuted him at once. "You dare to say that? You were the first to say that it was impossible." Hearing the four great elders' words and even seeing them play with each other, Jianghu smiled. His heart was full of gratification. But at the moment Elder Hong looked at him and said, "Young Pavilion Master, you did a good job at a tough time. You held the Sword Pavilion together for us. But now you are leaving." "Leaving? Where am I going?" Jianghu was surprised. With severe countenance Elder Hong said, "You are leaving Sword Marquee Mansion and going somewhere else." Jianghu felt a little puzzled, but why? Because Elder Hong was silent, not knowing how to answer. A cold voice suddenly rang out, "Stop your nonsense." As Jianghu turned and looked around, a green-clothed woman appeared behind him. The green-clothed woman was graceful, with black hair and a veil covering her face. Although people could not see her actual appearance, one could tell that the woman was very beautiful just by looking into her eyes. The green-clothed woman seemed charming. However, there was a faint smell on her body. All the good was gone. Jianghu frowned and asked, "Who are you?" He was sure that he had never seen this woman. Elder Hong noticed the green-clothed woman and didn't feel any sense of amazement. He said, "If you're here, that means that the others should be ready." "Yes," she nodded, stepping toward Jianghu. "There is little time to say so much. Come with me at once." "Follow you?" Jianghu showed alertness, and sword essence began to gather in his body. "Ridiculous." The woman laughed and moved around. Jianghu did not react as the woman patted his forehead with her palm. At this moment a majestic spiritual power poured into his body. It blocked his 8 extra channels and then seized his hands. Jianghu wanted to rebel, but he realized to his horror that he could not control his spiritual power. Jianghu was frightened. Gold core. She has at least cultivated a gold core, she might even be an expert of the gold core realm. Elder Hong said loudly, "Young Pavilion Master, you can go with her. She won't hurt you." Jianghu tried to say something, but all of a sudden, boom. A terrifying roar came from close behind, immediately followed by a large amount of spiritual power. "Who are you? How dare you behave atrociously in my Sword Marquee Mansion?" A voice immediately rang through the sky. Jianghu recognized that the voice, it was the Sword Marquee Mansion Master, Jian Xinhong. "They're coming," said the green-clothed woman, who had already put Jianghu behind her back. "I'll take him and hand everything else over to you. The 4 of us are ready." Elder Hong and other 3 great elders looked at each other, and each took out a scarlet pill. They did not hesitate to swallow the scarlet pill. Blind old man. Another person came to the courtyard, a graceful middle-aged woman. She was the proprietress of the wine shop where Elder Hong had gone before. Jun. Noticing that someone had come in, Elder Hong became nervous. The woman smiled. "Nothing else to say? Give me a scarlet pill." Elder Hong frowned. "No? Are you not willing or you do not have any?" The woman, Jun, smiled and then took out a scarlet pill. "Fortunately, I prepared one for myself." After finishing her words, she swallowed it quickly, not noticing Elder Hong's expression. Elder Hong sighed, "Jun, why would you do this?" "Blind old man, do you know why I always call you a blind old man? Because you can't see how I felt about you for so many years," Jun smiled, "but it does not matter anymore. Although we have not really been together, at least we can die together." Elder Hong took a deep look at Jun and nodded heavily. The 4 great elders of the Sword Pavilion and Jun had swallowed a scarlet pill. The aura surrounding the 5 people instantly soared up, directly reaching an unprecedented level. Gold core. 5 people had all reached the primordial gold core realm. Elder Hong's aura was the strongest, reaching the point of the profound gold core realm. This, Jianghu was completely confused. What's happening? What's the matter? Who broke into the Sword Marquee Mansion? Who is the green-clothed woman with a veil? What kind of pill did the four elders swallow? Why did their strength suddenly improve so much? And most importantly, why did they swallow this pill? Why do they look like they are going to die? Jian Wushuang had so many doubts. He did not understand what had happened. All of this was too sudden, there had been no signs at all. Ji Wuya, I will leave the young master to you. Elder Hong turned red and growled with a trace of madness in his eyes. Ji Wuya looked at the five people. Two words that were so heavy came out of the mouth of the green-clothed woman slowly. Take care. After finishing her words, Ji Wuya did not hesitate to turn around, taking Jian Wushuang away at full speed and sweeping out of Sword Marquee Mansion. Just as Ji Wuya turned and left, a wide roar of rage rang through Sword Marquee Mansion. Haha, you Blood Feather Tower bastards, prepare to go to hell. Well, you five old people. How dare you block us? Kill them. Kill them. As the roar of rage echoed, the whole Sword Marquee Mansion was caught in a terrible war. Deadly amounts of spiritual power soared through the area. While all this was happening, Jian Wushuang was totally at a loss. What on earth is happening? Chapter 36. Chapter 36, Blood Feather Tower. While Sword Marquee Mansion was in upheaval, something happened in the gladiator arena. Sir. A black-robed servant came anxiously to Bai Chong and passed him a note. After taking a glance at the note, Bai Chong's face turned grim. Some impressive words were written on the note. Jian Wushuang is in danger. Please quickly come to Tranquility Forest 10 miles from the border to save him. Bai Chong then looked at the signature. Smile allured Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming. A look of fear showed in Bai Chong's eyes, and then he immediately ordered, all golden-robed servants follow me right now. A moment later, 7 figures full of energy rushed out from the gladiator arena. Each of these 7 figures had reached the Gold Core Realm, among which leader Bai Chong ranked at the peak of the Gold Core Realm. Tranquility Forest 10 miles from the border. Several figures stood in the treetops, waiting quietly. Here they come, said a burly man with a head of disorganized hair. He followed them with his eyes. Whoosh! Ji Wuya appeared at the top of one of the big trees, with Jian Wushuang right behind her. Ji Wuya said indifferently, then I'll leave it to you. Ji Wuya, you didn't tell us before that our task was to fight against Blood Feather Tower, said an aloof and thin young man. How about double rewards after you finish the task? Ji Wuya looked around with her cold and gloomy eyes. Okay. Suddenly the experts who had felt dissatisfied before were nodding their heads with desire in their eyes. I need you guys to obstruct the experts from Blood Feather Tower for as long as you can. I also found some extra helpers for you. After saying that, Ji Wuya looked up to the sky where 7 figures rapidly skimmed over towards them. Golden Dragon guards from the Golden Dragon Palace? When Bai Chong came to Tranquility Forest, he not only saw those extraordinary figures on the treetops but also noticed gold rings on their index fingers. Each of them wore a gold ring, the symbol of the Golden Dragon Guard. Sir Bai Chong. Upon seeing their arrival, Jian Wushuang felt pleasantly surprised, even though he was under the complete control of Ji Wuya. Jian Wushuang. Bai Chong glanced at him and then looked at Ji Wuya with eyes suddenly becoming strange. Are you Ji Wuman? No, you are not her. You are Ji Wuya. Yes, it's me. Ji Wuya nodded and said sternly, Bai Chong, when my elder sister was alive, she was very kind to you, and my brother-in-law also took you as his confidant. Now their son is in danger, won't you help him? Bai Chong's face darkened and he looked at Jian Wushuang with a serious expression. Take him away right now. As for the people from Blood Feather Tower, I will try to obstruct them for a while, Bai Chong said in a low voice. Thank you so much. After thanking him, Ji Wuya looked at the burly man beside her and said, Boo, let's go. Yes. The burly man nodded and immediately took Jian Wushuang, jumping into the forest with Ji Wuya. But just as they jumped into the forest, a chipper laugh burst between the sky and the earth. Haha, Ji Wuming, where are you taking that little guy? Don't you want to take the antidote? Only I have the antidote, so you'd better stay. The voice was full of evil. After hearing the words, Ji Wuya felt a slight chill but didn't intend to stop. After the laughter, a loud roar burst out. It was obvious that the two sides had collided. Golden Dragon Guard. Men from the gladiator arena? How dare you intercept our Blood Feather Tower? Humph, bastards of Blood Feather Tower. Do you think that our gladiator arena fears you? Kill? The war broke out instantly with roaring and shouting. In the forest. Are those people who want to kill me? Jianghu Shuang could see several black-robed men behind them when he turned his head. Most of them wore silver masks and just a few wore golden masks. What the hell is going on? Those people are all here. What about Sword Marquis Mansion and Elder Hong? Jianghu Shuang shouted anxiously. Shut up, Ji Weiwei shouted loudly. She continued unsympathetically, these people are coming for you. Their arrival here means the battle in Sword Marquis Mansion has already finished. As for Elder Hong and the others, they are dead. Dead? Jianghu Shuang was stunned. All 5 of them swallowed scarlet pills. It enhances their strength quickly by consuming the person's life. A warrior can only swallow 1 scarlet pill in their lifetime because they are doomed to die after taking it. What? Jianghu Shuang was shocked. Finally, he understood why their strength had enhanced so much before. They had swallowed a scarlet pill and paid for it with their lives. What? What? Jianghu Shuang could not help roaring. What? Because you awoke the Sword Soul, and that's how things are now, said Ji Weiwei. Sword Soul? What is Sword Soul? Jianghu Shuang still felt baffled. He had no idea what she was talking about. It seems that you haven't noticed. Right, you have just awoken it, it's normal that you don't know. But once your strength increases in the future you will notice the existence of Sword Soul, said Ji Weiwei. Do those people want to kill me just because I have awoken Sword Soul? What the hell is Sword Soul? Jianghu Shuang roared. I don't know what Sword Soul is because neither I nor the others have awoken it. The only one who has awoken it is your father, Jian Nantian, Ji Weiwei said in an uncaring voice. Haven't you always wanted to know why your father left 4 years ago and disappeared without any news? What? Jianghu Shuang glared and said, was it because he also awoke Sword Soul? Yes, Ji Weiwei nodded, but you are different. Your father awoke Sword Soul during the Gold Core period. It didn't take long before Blood Feather Tower came to kill your father after they heard that your father had awoken his Sword Soul. But they underestimated your father, which allowed him to escape by a fluke. And then your father was afraid of incriminating you in Sword Marquis Mansion, so he left and started living like a fugitive. And now? Jianghu Shuang hurriedly asked. Now, your father has been caught by Blood Feather Tower. I don't know whether he is alive or not. Ji Weiwei shook her head with a wry smile. You only care about your father. Don't you want to ask about your mother? Your mother? While speaking, Ji Weiwei abruptly had a quiver and her extremely beautiful eyes soon became scarlet with violence. Chapter 37. Chapter 37, Tragic. My mother? Jianghu Shuang asked enthusiastically. He had grown up with his father, Jian Nantian, until he was 12, when his father suddenly left and was nowhere to be found. As for his mother, he had never seen her and his father had never even mentioned her. So until now he did not even know what his mother's name was. You know my mother? Jianghu Shuang was just about to ask. But all of a sudden Ji Weiwei threw him directly to the burly man that was skittering beside her. Weiwei you, the burly man took Jianghu Shuang very quickly and looked at Ji Weiwei at the same time. However, what he saw greatly shocked him. Ji Weiwei's veil had dropped, exposing a horrible face that was completely purulent, with blue veins surging upon its surface as if millions of insects had bitten her. Ji Weiwei roared out crazily and miserably, looking to be in extreme pain. Damn. Poisoning. The burly man Bu's face became gloomy. This didn't happen earlier nor later, but now suddenly. Poisoning? Jianghu Shuang looked at Ji Weiwei in shock. Jianghu Shuang. A slightly crazy voice suddenly rushed out from Ji Weiwei's mouth. Listen. Your mother, Ji Wuming, was the eldest daughter of the Ji clan. 3 years ago your father was hunted by Blood Feather Tower, and having no other choice he fled to the Ji clan. In order to protect your father, the Ji clan went against Blood Feather Tower and resisted all the experts that they sent. In the end, your mother was killed, your father was taken away by Blood Feather Tower, and our Ji clan was extinguished. All of the families were slaughtered. I was the only one lucky enough to escape. So you have to remember, you are not only the son of Jian Nantian, but also the last in the bloodline of the Ji clan except for me. You have to live well and grow up, improving your strength and ability so that you can destroy Blood Feather Tower and avenge my entire Ji clan. And Ji Weiwei had an expression of madness as the extreme pain of the poisoning made her words continuously stutter. You have to keep. Triple kill. Sir. Well, your father said that is the token, enter into the ancestors' land. By the end, Ji Weiyue's voice had already turned hysterical. Go. Bu, take him and go at once. Ji Weiyue suddenly roared and shouted again. Bu looked into Ji Weiyue's eyes deeply, then carried Jian Wushuang on his back. Go. Aunt. She is my aunt. Jian Wushuang finally understood who Ji Weiyue was. No, take my aunt, we'll go together. Once poisoned, Weiyue will instantly turn to unconscious madness and she will attack everyone. If we take her with us, none of us would be able to escape, Bu said in a low voice. Even so, we cannot leave her behind, Jian Wushuang shouted. Bu turned a dark expression and slapped Jian Wushuang on the back of the neck, immediately knocking him unconscious. Taking the unconscious Jian Wushuang, Bu quickly fled from the area. Soon, a man in a purple coat from Blood Feather Tower found Ji Weiyue, who had gone crazy. Haha, Ji Weiyue, come and follow me obediently. Old bastard Ining, you will meet a horrible end. Half a day later, the slaughter in Tranquility Forest had finally calmed down. Bones and corpses were all over the battlefield, and more than a dozen black-robed men in masks were standing there, led by the man in a purple coat. Even sending out more than 30 silver-masked assassins and 3 gold-masked assassins was not enough to kill the target. More than half of the silver-masked assassins were killed or injured, and even one of the gold-masked assassins died. So many losses, what do you have to show for it? The man in purple's expression became heavy. Clatter, clatter. The black-robed man immediately knelt down behind him. Send the order. Release the scarlet arrest warrant all over Tianyin province. You must find him even if you must completely turn Tianyin province upside down, the man in purple said in a chilling tone. Yes, answered those black-robed men immediately. Although we did not kill the target this time, catching Ji Weiyue counts for a little bit. The man in purple muttered, with Ji Weiyue, I am not afraid that Jian Nantian will not speak. After the tragic battle, the entire Sword Marquis mansion was in ruins, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. Every corpse was moved to the back of the central drill ground, up to 100 corpses at a glance. A large number of the disciples in Sword Marquis mansion stood on the edge of the drill ground, looking at the 100 corpses, each one of them with an ugly face. Mansion Master, the casualties have been counted, said an elder of Red Martial Hall, coming over to Jian Xinhong. Fine, go on then. Jian Xinhong's pale face and the trace of blood at the corner of his mouth showed that he had obviously been through a great battle and was seriously injured. 8 experts above the spiritual sea realm died. 4 of them are the 4 great elders of Sword Pavilion, the rest are the servants of Sword Pavilion, that elder said. All of them are from Sword Pavilion? Jian Xinhong's eyes stared and he asked again, what about the dead disciples? There were 94 disciples of the spirit path that died. Most of those disciples did not take the initiative to join the war. Instead, they were helplessly dragged into it. The youngest of them was only 12, and had just gathered spiritual power, the elder replied with a trace of grief. Hearing the number of casualties, Jian Xinhong was shocked from head to toe. His face became green and then turned pale. After a long time, he sighed deeply and said, bury them well. In the drill ground there were several other people standing there who looked very dismal as well. They were Bai Chong and others from the gladiator arena. But the gold-robed servants that followed Bai Chong had decreased from 6 to 3. Bai Chong was looking at the corpses spread all over the ground, and his right hand could not help touching his left sleeve, which was empty and covered in blood, impressively lacking an arm. Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming, I no longer owe you a debt of gratitude. On this day, with the sudden outbreak of war, even the forces of all the parties involved were not clear about it. The result was, in the Sword Marquis mansion, the 4 great elders of the Sword Pavilion had all died. Zhu Jun had died. The 4 servants of the Sword Pavilion and nearly 100 ordinary disciples of the Spirit Path were implicated and killed as well, the youngest of whom was only 12 years old. Sword Marquis mansion was full of countless wounded. Of the 6 gold-robed servants from the gladiator arena, 3 died and the other 3 were all seriously injured. Bai Chong had lost an arm. Ji Weiyue was captured alive. What a tragedy. How tragic the war was. The source of this war was the awakening of Jian Wushuang's sword soul. Chapter 38. Chapter 38, A Blood Feud. In a cave on an unknown hill, A few hundred miles inside Tranquility Forest, Jian Wushuang slowly woke up after being unconscious for most of the day. "Boy, are you awake?" The shaggy-haired, burly Bu was sitting beside him, burning coals for barbecuing. He threw a piece of meat to Jian Wushuang and said, "You must be hungry after being unconscious for so long. Come on." "My name is Sima Bu, but people call me Bu." "You can call me Elder Brother Bu," he said. "Brother Bu," Jian Wushuang called out and immediately asked him, "Where is my aunt?" "Ji Wuya?" Sima Bu shook his head and heaved a deep sigh. "She should have been caught by Blood Feather Tower. They are heartless and cruel. She would come to a sticky end." "Asshole," cursed Jian Wushuang. "Boy, your name is Jian Wushuang, right? Although you are young, you have caused Blood Feather Tower to appoint so many people to kill you." Sima Bu sighed and said, "But you seem to be at a loss." "Yes, I'm puzzled. Up to this point, all I know is that I have awakened my sword soul. So they want to chase me down just as they chased my father years ago. That's why he left Sword Marquee Mansion. But what is a sword soul?" Jian Wushuang frowned. "Sword soul? I haven't heard of it. But if Blood Feather Tower wants to kill you and your father so recklessly because of this sword soul, and they even slaughtered the Ji clan without hesitation, then it must be important," Sima Bu said. "Eldest brother Bu, since you have a deep relationship with my aunt, you must know something about her, the Ji clan and Blood Feather Tower. Please tell me something," Jian Wushuang pleaded seriously. "We have been on many adventures together and we were like Damon and Pythias, but I don't know much about her. However, I do know something about the Ji clan and Blood Feather Tower," Sima Bu answered at once. "When it comes to Blood Feather Tower and the Ji clan, we have to start with the general pattern of the Tianzong dynasty. The Tianzong dynasty has a vast territory with 16 provinces, and each province has many commanderies. For example, Tianyin province has 108 commanderies, and Bahui commandery is only one of them. So you can imagine how wide the Tianzong dynasty is. Although the Sword Marquee Mansion that you belong to is the most powerful, compared to the whole Tianzong dynasty, it is so weak that it can't even be regarded as a third-rate power." An amazing gleam appeared into Jian Wushuang's eye, but it soon disappeared. Indeed, it was only in Bahui commandery that Sword Marquee Mansion was a top power. In the entire Tianzong dynasty it was not. Even in Tianyin province, there were countless powers stronger than Mansion of Sword Marquee. For example, the Tianyuan Sword Sect, one of the 5 sects in Tianyin province, was not something that the Sword Marquee Mansion could compare to. The 3 hegemons in the Tianzong dynasty are Golden Dragon Palace, the Gladiator Arena and Blood Feather Tower. Sima Bu continued. The ruler of Golden Dragon Palace is the monarch of the Tianzong dynasty. Branches of Golden Dragon Palace can be found all over the Tianzong dynasty. Although its power is overwhelming, it isn't restrained by the Golden Dragon Guard like me and your aunt Ji Wuya. The power of the Gladiator Arena, the biggest chamber of commerce, is everywhere in the Tianzong dynasty. It is said that the Gladiator Arena has the support of the imperial household, which must be the prince. The last one is Blood Feather Tower. Everyone that wanders around the Tianzong dynasty knows about and fears Blood Feather Tower. It is the #1 assassin organization recognized by the public. There are a large number of invisible assassins. These assassins are divided into 4 levels: copper, silver, gold, and purple. Silver masks generally have cultivation in the gold core realm. Gold masks are at the peak of the gold core realm. And purple masks are supreme experts in the legendary Yin-Yang Void realm. This time, dozens of silver-masked assassins and 3 gold-masked assassins chased us down. What I talked about was the 3 hegemons with terrible strength who stood in the first echelons of the Tianzong dynasty. The ancient 8 clans were second to them. It is said that the 8 clans were passed down since the establishment of the Tianzong dynasty, ancient and culturally rich. One of them, the Ji clan, was wiped out 3 years ago, which shook the whole Tianzong dynasty. All the powers were curious about the reason. However, they were killed because of granting asylum to your father, Sima Bu said inside. What about my aunt? What about the poison in her body? Jian Wushuang looked sullen. It is called heart-biting poison and it's very poisonous, enough to completely destroy a person gradually. When I saw her 3 years ago, she was poisoned and it would occasionally attack her. When it does, she suffers unprecedented pain that directly destroys her mind. She will refuse to have anything to do with her kin or friends, only understanding to crazily kill. I have seen it several times, it's so miserable. The attack of the poison manifests suddenly without any regularity. She was trying to save you this time, but it so happened that the poison attacked, alas. Sima Bu sighed gently and said slowly, the poison quickly makes her fall into madness. If we took her we could not have escaped, so. Saying this, Sima Bu looked pale. He and Ji Wuya had gone through many things together, and they had a deep relationship. He would have never left without her unless there was no choice. Oh, who poisoned my aunt? Asked Jianwu Shuang. I know. It was an Ing, the hall master of Blood Feather Tower in Tianyin province. He was among the assassins this time, said Sima Bu. An Ing? Good, I will remember him. Not only him but also Blood Feather Tower. Jianwu Shuang raised his head and his eyes were filled with unprecedented killing intent. He did not know his lot before, but now he knew everything. His mother was the firstborn daughter of the Ji clan. He had the blood of the Ji clan. That is to say, he bore the blood feud of the Ji clan. In order to protect his father, the entire Ji clan was killed. His father, who had been caught by Blood Feather Tower, could be dead or alive. His aunt, persecuted by Blood Feather Tower, was suffering from severe pain. Now, in order to save him, she had been caught by them. With the awakening of his sword soul, the experts of Blood Feather Tower had come to kill him for the first time. All of the culprits were from Blood Feather Tower. Chapter 39. Chapter 39, Inescapable Net. Feeling the killing intention from Jianwu Shuang, Sima Bu could not help but secretly shake his head. He could understand Jianwu Shuang's killing intent toward Blood Feather Tower, but Blood Feather Tower was so powerful that not everyone could provoke it. Sitting in the cave, Jianwu Shuang held his hands tightly with his eyes closed, slowly restraining his tremendous killing intent from the extreme anger that he originally felt. It was apparent that he had already calmed himself down. For me, Blood Feather Tower is a genuine colossus and I can't compete with them at my present strength. So I must endure for now. Endure, hide and wait. Jianwu Shuang held his hands so tightly that his nails dug into his palm until he was bleeding. Although his heart was full of killing intent, he needed to restrain his sharp edge. In addition to revenge, I also have to find a solution to make all these things clear, Jianwu Shuang growled. Although he now knew his own lot and the huge blood debt that was on his shoulders, he still had many doubts in his heart. For example, what on earth was Sword Soul? Why had Blood Feather Tower tried to kill him and his father, who had awakened their sword souls, regardless of everything? In addition, what was the ancestor's land that his aunt Ji Wuya told him about with her last words? There were many doubts that he slowly needed to explore. Strength. In the final analysis, my strength was so weak that I had no ability to stand against Blood Feather Tower when it chased after me to kill me. I only survived by good luck with the help of my aunt and Elder Hong, who sacrificed themselves for me. If my strength had been great enough that Blood Feather Tower feared me and did not even dare to offend me, then none of this would have happened. Strength. Strength. Jianwu Shuang growled crazily in his heart. He had never had a thirst for strength as great as he did now. Even before, when he was betrayed by Jian Menger, he had not come to this point. After all, he fought with Jian Menger for his own dignity, for his father's dignity, and for the dignity of the Sword Pavilion. But with Blood Feather Tower, it was a blood feud that would never stop until death. In such an unprecedented desire for strength, even Jianwu Shuang himself did not realize that the spiritual power in his body had sprung up at that moment, and the heavenly creation skill had operated naturally. Heavenly creation skill, the technique of claiming. Suddenly, OM. Jianwu Shuang's body suddenly shuddered, with a sense of amazement in his eyes, followed by surprise. Has the ninth heaven of the divine path been broken through? So unbelievable. Even Jianwu Shuang did not think that his cultivation would naturally make a breakthrough while he was full of an unprecedented desire for strength. It must be known that, just a few days ago, he relied on absorbing a large amount of primordial spiritual liquid to promote himself to the eighth heaven of the divine path. And now, just a few days later, a huge breakthrough had directly been made. The ninth heaven of the divine path was equivalent to the profound spiritual sea realm of common warriors. So that, along with the advantage of the heavenly creation skill on strength, even if he did not use the soul-devouring secret skill, his spiritual power would not be weaker than Jian Menger, who had achieved the peak of the profound spiritual sea realm. His strength had risen again. The heavenly creation skill is so amazing. Jianwu Shuang could not help thinking that, and was more confident with his future growth. The Blood Feather Tower was indeed a colossus for him now, but in the future, it might not be. My father, my mother, my aunt, the 4 elders, the Ji clan, and all the innocent people who have been implicated in this fight for me, I, Jian Wushuang, will bet all of myself to assure you that, in my lifetime, I will certainly slaughter Blood Feather Tower and uproot it. I will avenge you. Jian Wushuang, with cold eyes, had a determination that ran deep in his blood. The next morning. Boy, you stay here and wait for me while I go to the nearby cities to fish for information, Sima Bu said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He also knew that Blood Feather Tower would not take things lying down. Jian Wushuang stayed in the cave alone and cultivated quietly. After about an hour, Sima Bu came back. Brother Bu, how is it going? Jian Wushuang asked immediately. The situation is a lot worse than I thought. I walked around in a nearby city and there were no less than 10 assassins from Blood Feather Tower that I was aware of, as well as those who were hidden deep inside, so there must have been more that I couldn't find. What's more, I went to a secret intelligence station of the Golden Dragon Palace and learned that Blood Feather Tower has issued a scarlet arrest warrant for you. Now there are many scouts from Blood Feather Tower lurking around all the big cities, only waiting for you to appear, Sima Bu said solemnly. It can be said that Blood Feather Tower has formed a tight dragnet in Bahui Commandery, even in the entire Tianyan province. So if you did appear, you would be killed by the experts of Blood Feather Tower without any ability to struggle. And with the intelligence capabilities of Blood Feather Tower, even if you bring a mask or camouflage your appearance, you will be noticed immediately by them as long as there is the slightest trace or flaw. I was going to bring you back to Golden Dragon Palace in Bahui Commandery to accomplish this task, but now it seems impossible, said Sima Bu. I can't stay in Bahui Commandery for now, Jian Wushuang said with a low tone. Not even Tianyan province is safe. I must leave quickly. You are right. Sima Bu nodded. I realized it out on my way back. Right now, Blood Feather Tower is mainly focused on killing you inside of Tianyan province, where it is difficult for you to survive. But in other provinces, you still have space to live, and the most suitable for you is Tiannan province, located in the surrounding area of Tianyan province. Tiannan province is one of the main provinces where the gladiator arena operates, so the forces of Blood Feather Tower are not very strong there. It's the most suitable place for you to go. But the road from Bahui Commandery to Tiannan province is relatively long and it requires passing through the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest? Jian Wushuang gazed slightly. He had also heard of the Dark Forest, which is a vast forest between Tianyan province and Tiannan province. It was famous as a dangerous place full of spirit beasts and crisis. Then I will go to Tiannan province. Jian Wushuang said seriously. As for the Dark Forest, I'll just have passed through it. Haha, you are young but you have great courage. Don't worry, I will go to Tiannan province with you and escort you through the Dark Forest safely. Sima Bu laughed. Even without you, I still have to go through the Dark Forest. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with energy. Tiannan province was his only chance to live and no one could stand in the way of his survival. Chapter 40. Chapter 40, The Dark Forest. In the Dark Forest, spirit beasts were everywhere. It was a time of crisis. If Jian Wushuang wanted to go to Tiannan province, he had to go through the Dark Forest. The first day after setting foot in the Dark Forest. Deep in the thick jungle. Howl? After roaring, a blue shadow jumped out as if it was a ghost, rushing at Jian Wushuang and Sima Bu directly. Both of them responded quickly, and they easily moved away from the beast. It's a scarlet leopard, no wonder it moved so fast, said Sima Bu with a low voice, looking at the spirit beast which suddenly attacked them. Leave it to me, Jian Wushuang said with piercing eyesight. He pulled his triple kill sword from behind, and the sword light moved straight toward the scarlet leopard. Be careful, this scarlet leopard has reached the profound spiritual sea realm. Sima Bu had only just reminded him, then Jian Wushuang showed off his unparalleled sword light the next moment. The sword light was like snow, and on such a boundless ground, broke out its spiritual power all of a sudden. Clang, clang, clang. After a series of 3 swords split out, each sword light looked so beautiful. At that time, the scarlet leopard also charged forward, its 4 hooves trampling heavily on the ground, then turned into lightning rushing toward Jian Wushuang fiercely. Chi! At that moment, the brilliant sword light easily ripped a huge hole in the scarlet leopard's body, and the scarlet leopard's belly began to bleed as all its internal organs began falling out everywhere, which led to its immediate death. Too weak. Jian Wushuang glanced at the body of the scarlet leopard, and sympathetically shook his head. Compared with humans, spirit beasts at the same level were indeed more powerful. However, when it was under the condition of slaughtering, it entirely depended on the instinct of the spirit beast, which was far less than a cultivating human warrior with martial arts techniques. I have broken through the ninth heaven of the divine path. My spiritual power could be compared to the highest level of profound spiritual sea realm, but by virtue of my swordsmanship, spirit beasts in the profound spiritual sea realm are not a threat to me at all. If it was a spirit beast in the exceptional spiritual sea realm, there may have been some pressure on me, Jian Wushuang said, with a glimmer of anticipation in his eyes. There were not many things in the dark forest, but there were many spirit beasts. Here there were countless spirit beasts in the spiritual sea realm, and there were even quite a few spirit beasts in the gold core realm. With so many strong spirit beasts, it could serve as an excellent cultivating place as well as a dangerous spot at the same time. Ah, excellent swordsmanship, boy. Sima Bu came over, glancing at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. In addition, your cultivation is not bad as well. How did you kill that scarlet leopard, in the profound spiritual sea realm, in an instant? Also, how old are you this year? 16. Jian Wushuang told him his true age. Sima Bu stared at him. Brother Bu, from now on, if it's not necessary, you do not have to fight. I can take charge of killing the spirit beasts on the way through the dark forest, Jian Wushuang solemnly said. No problem. Sounds good to me. Sima Bu nodded with a smile, with no need to explain more since he knew Jian Wushuang's purpose. Half a day later. Boy, be cautious. What you are facing now is a spurting mouse in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. It is not only fast but also has a body that's extremely hard, except for its eyes. But its means of attack are very simple. And that is its teeth, which are very sharp and can easily crunch rigid bluestones. Therefore you'd better protect yourself from being bitten. Sima Bu reminded him off to the side. Jian Wushuang stared at the spurting mouse in front of him, a small but oppressive figure that had eyes blazing with ferocity. Frizzle. The spurting mouse made a whinny sound, then its body immediately burst out in the form of a flowing light. Purple fire sword art. Jian Wushuang, who became hot-tempered, used the triple kill sword with a baking hot sword edge, and instantaneously slaughtered the spurting mouse. Such a fierce fight. Because the body of the spurting mouse was so stiff, it was not hurt too much by Jian Wushuang, either by his long sword or the straight stab. The only vulnerability of the spurting mouse was its eyes. However, the target was too small and moved so fast. It was actually quite difficult to attack it. At last, Jian Wushuang was forced to use the first move of anonymous sword art, Blood Shadow. He swept his sword toward the spurting mouse with an astonishing speed. With this move he successfully killed it. Unfortunately, the spurting mouse had also bitten off a large piece of flesh from his shoulder. It was such a painful wound. Carry on. Simply bandaging the wound on his shoulder, Jian Wushuang recovered his spiritual power and he continued on his way. That night, the moonlight was so bright but it did not reach into the forest. The complete darkness in the dark forest was horrible. Later, in the treetops of a large tree lay Sima Bu, dangling a weed and laying on his hands while his eyes looked at Jian Wushuang, who was cultivating under the tree from time to time. How hard-working this little guy is. He is so strict with himself. Sima Bu laughed secretly. Although he had entered the dark forest only one day ago, Sima Bu felt the instinctive madness in Jian Wushuang. In just one day's time, Jian Wushuang had gone through a full 8 battles, of which 6 opponents were spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm, while the other 2 were in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. With Jian Wushuang's present strength, it would be extremely fierce to fight with spirit beasts in the exceptional spiritual sea realm without using the soul-devouring secret skill. Like today, when fighting with a spirit beast in the exceptional spiritual sea realm, although Jian Wushuang had successfully killed one of them, he himself did not escape unharmed. A large chunk of flesh was bitten off his shoulder, and another spirit beast in the exceptional spiritual sea realm scratched him above his chest with its sharp claws, leaving a very clear bloody paw print. In fact, as extremely numerous as spirit beasts were in the dark forest, it was impossible to encounter so many spirit beasts in the profound spiritual sea realm and exceptional spiritual sea realm on the first day. This occurred because Jian Wushuang deliberately searched for those spirit beasts. As for other warriors, they tended to avoid meeting spirit beasts that had mighty strength. However, Jian Wushuang was deliberately looking for these powerful spirit beasts to battle with them. Although it's a bit crazy, he has improved through these experiences. What's more, his swordsmanship is really good, Sima Bu said to himself. Swordsmanship. Sima Bu was suddenly a little touched, but he became absorbed in thought the next moment. Early the next morning, Jian Wushuang gradually opened his eyes with a trace of joy. After one night, his spiritual power was refined a bit, and although his overall strength had not improved, at least he was making progress every day. The life-or-death fights in the dark forest with spirit beasts had also greatly promoted his swordsmanship. Carry on today, Jian Wushuang gripped his hands tightly. A madness shined deep in his eyes that had not even slightly weakened. Instead, it had become a little more powerful. Chapter 41. Chapter 41, The Sword Essence. Ping. A cold sword shadow at a very tricky angle stabbed directly toward the golden gibbon, which was more than 2 meters tall. Covered in greenish-black scales, it dashed toward the shadow, using its giant arms that were notorious for their outrageous strength. The moment that the sword shadow was smashed and scattered, another 3 sword lights flashed almost simultaneously. It had already been 6 days since Jian Wushuang entered the dark forest. During his search in the dark forest over the past 5 days, he had undergone dozens of battles, some of which were fiercely dangerous, especially when battling against spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm and the exceptional transforming sea realm. Compared to 5 days ago, his swordsmanship appeared much sharper and he had gained much more fighting experience. Except for the one battle in the gladiator arena, Jian Wushuang had grown up training in Sword Marquee Mansion. He had no previous fighting experience with anyone before that. But now, his previous disadvantage in experience was being made up for. Clang? The fleeting and flickering shiny sword edge eluded the golden gibbon's eyes, directly puncturing its throat with an amazing piercing force. Rumbling. Its blood continued to spew out as its huge body instantly fell down. Great, that is the 7th spirit beast in the profound transforming sea realm that you have killed these last few days, said Sima Bu, walking up with a smile. Your spiritual power still needs to improve some more before it can reach the exceptional transforming sea realm, but your swordsmanship has become more refined after several days of fighting. I still have a long way to go, said Jian Wushuang, shaking his head without any sense of pride. I'm still far from having enough fighting experience. By virtue of my mastery in swordsmanship, I can now get rid of some inexperienced spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm. However, I have to flee instantly once I encounter stronger spirit beasts because I'm still unable to use my strength to the fullest. If only I were more experienced in battle and more adept at swordsmanship, said Jian Wushuang, holding his hands tightly. Don't aim too high. After all, you are not even in the exceptional transforming sea realm, yet you already have such awesome battle strength, said Sima Bu. Then he suddenly added, these days I've noticed that you're highly gifted in swordsmanship, and I have something that might be useful to you. I am giving it to you for Ji Wui's sake. Sima Bu immediately turned his right hand upward, unfolding a yellow wire-bound book. What? Said Jian Wushuang with a little surprise, then he stared at the gold ring that was always on the ring finger of Sima Bu's right hand. Is that an interspatial ring? He asked suspiciously. Just as its name suggested, an interspatial ring contained a separate space for holding things. There was nothing else in his hand, but how did the book appear as he flipped his hand over? It went without saying that it must have been an interspatial ring. You're right, it's an interspatial ring, said Sima Bu with a smile. Presented by Gold Dragon Palace, called the Gold Dragon Ring, and symbolizing the Gold Dragon Guard. If you're interested in this and go there by any chance, you'll be given a Gold Dragon Ring by Gold Dragon Palace only after you complete the task to become a Gold Dragon Guard. Really? Jian Wushuang became excited. Anyway, I obtained this book by chance. First, you should read it carefully as you can benefit from what this expert in sword principles had learned. By the way, he is a supreme expert in the Yin-Yang Void Realm, said Sima Bu. Insight into sword principles from an expert? And left by a supreme expert? Asked Jian Wushuang with a serious look. The 7 ranks of the Spirit Path, the Transcending Sea Realm, the Primordial Gold Core Realm, and the Yin-Yang Void Realm. Among these, the Primordial Gold Core Realm already linked to the strongest, the Yin-Yang Void Realm, and a supreme expert who was also rare in the whole Tianzong dynasty. Was it sword principle insights left by such a supreme expert? Jian Wushuang immediately took the book and began to read it carefully. It did not mention the name of the supreme expert, but it spoke of his insights in sword principle, as well as his views related to swordsmanship. Sword principle can be broken into two parts. Sword arts, which are merely the form of swordsmanship, and sword essence, which is required for real swordsmanship. Combining both will give you insight into sword principle. In fact, that book respectively introduced sword principle, starting with the sword arts chapter, then progressing to the second chapter, sword essence. Jian Wushuang first absorbed the sword arts chapter. If a swordsman depends on sophisticated but formal and stiff sword arts, there is no difference for him between normal and average sword arts. While an expert can easily surpass his rivals, even if they are thousands of times stronger than him, as long as he is more adept at using his sword arts, and even if his sword arts are of a lower class. The pages of the sword arts chapter could be counted on one's fingers, and all they spoke of was the common sense of sword principle. But what made the book different lay in the fact that its creator seemed to despise all sword arts in the universe. He even held the belief that sword arts were insignificant to sword principle. This senior seems biased against sword arts. Admittedly, I do agree with his view on various sword arts, but not on his thoughts that sword arts mean nothing to a warrior and can be ignored, Jian Wushuang thought. His training began with sword arts at an early age, and he believed that it very helpful to a warrior. After all, it was sword arts that had defeated Jian Menger and Yi Mo in the Sword Marquee token battle. And it was also sword arts that helped him battle spirit beasts of the exceptional transforming sea realm in the dark forest, even making it possible to kill those beasts in the end. Without sword arts, he would, at most, have only been a match for spirit beasts at the peak of the profound transforming sea realm by virtue of his unique heavenly creation skill. Even then it is uncertain who would have won. Shaking his head secretly, Jian Wushuang turned his eyes to the Sword Essence chapter instead of the Sword Arts chapter. Sword Essence was divided into two sections as well. In one, sword principle was used to accompany and enhance one's swordsmanship. Stronger swordsmanship means stronger sword essence. In the second section, sword essence was used to shape the essences of heaven and earth through comprehension. There are many essences in the universe, including the immense earth, raging flames, and the wind, everywhere in our lives. They are all part of the strength of the universe and nature. These essences can be shaped by using one sword essence and greatly sharpening one's swordsmanship through comprehension. Upon reaching a high enough level, any move with his sword can surpass both first-class sword arts and even legendary sword arts. There are many different kinds of sword essence, such as the sword essence of gale, the sword essence of raging fire, the sword essence of earth, and sword essence of the water drop. The contents of the Sword Essence chapter were more sophisticated and detailed than the plain introduction in the Sword Arts chapter. And Jian Wushuang was totally immersed in its contents. Chapter 42. Chapter 42, Sword Essence of Gale. After obsessively reading the contents of the Sword Essence chapter, word for word, from beginning to end, Jian Wushuang finally raised his head and breathed deeply, with a hint of shock in his eyes. "How is it going?" Sima Bu asked. "Very good, especially the chapter on sword essence." Jian Wushuang nodded his head and said seriously, "When my father was teaching me swordsmanship, he mentioned sword essence. But I didn't understand what sword essence really indicated until now. I finally know that sword essence is formed by comprehending the essence of heaven and earth. Yes, in fact, it is a matter of understanding and using the natural power of heaven and earth. Watch this." Sima Bu said, then smiled and abruptly pulled out the saber at his waist, immediately attacking a rock that was several meters away. A sharp crack appeared on the rock and a large amount of rubble fell. "I didn't use the essences of heaven and earth just now. But now I will try again with the essence of heaven and earth. Make sure you watch." Immediately, Sima Bu split the rock again. Jian Wushuang sensed a strong and fiery power this time when the rock was attacked. Was that the essence of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang's heartbeat quickened. Pum. The rock shattered and a large amount of rubble fell. Jian Wushuang was astonished to see such a large difference. The difference was humongous. One attack only caused a crack in the rock while the other blew the entire rock into pieces. Is this the difference between a normal attack and an attack using the essence of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang asked. That's right. The essences of heaven and earth are the powers of nature, which can be guided by both sword warriors and blade warriors. However, I have only mastered superficial knowledge. Otherwise, the power would have been much stronger, said Sima Bu. Actually, for warriors, they would try to master essences of heaven and earth after reaching the gold core realm. Once he mastered a hint of sword essence or blade essence, his strength would explode. Once I met a super genius who was talented in swordsmanship like you. At that time he had just entered the gold core realm, but he had deep comprehension in 3 different sword essences at the same time, which helped him to kill an expert warrior at the exceptional gold core realm. What? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Everyone knows the distance in power between each level only gets larger as their strength progresses. The distance between the initial gold core realm and the exceptional gold core realm was so large that even a genius who possessed a heaven-defying cultivation method, like the heavenly creation skill, still couldn't compare with someone at the exceptional gold core realm. However, because that exceptional genius reached a high level of understanding in sword essences, he was able to kill someone in the exceptional gold core realm with only 1 stroke. Just a single stroke. Sword essence is that terrifying? Jian Wushuang asked in shock. Your spiritual power is still too low to progress to the gold core realm, but after these few days, I noticed that you are very talented in swordsmanship. So, I decided to give you this book in the hope that you can learn sword essence earlier. It depends on whether you yourself can actually comprehend it, Sima Bu said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. When he saw the chapter on sword essence, he knew there was a large difference: someone who comprehended the essences of heaven and earth and someone who did not. He was full of longing and expectation towards the essence realm of heaven and earth. And that chapter also introduced the methods for comprehending the essences of heaven and earth in great detail. Even after this day, Jian Wushuang continued searching and battling with powerful spirit beasts at the profound transforming sea realm and exceptional transforming sea realm in the dark forest. But obviously he spent more time studying sword essence than he had previously. Inside an open canyon of the dark forest, Jian Wushuang stood alone with his eyes closed and his long sword held out. He had been holding this position for half an hour. With the breeze whisking by his body repeatedly, he quietly attempted to feel the power of the wind in the surrounding the area. The wind is invisible but ubiquitous. Unexpectedly, the long sword in his hand began to sweep slowly upwards. Very slowly, very lightly, each move followed the strength of the wind that flowed in the surrounding area. With a trace of a smile on his face, Jian Wushuang very clearly sensed the power of the surrounding wind, as well as the lightness of the wind. Gradually, a trace of enlightenment grew in his heart as the speed of his sword increased. At this time, Sima Bu was sitting arbitrarily on a rock near the open space. Occasionally Jian Wushuang would glance in his direction. This kid has begun to ponder sword essence, but is it so easy to comprehend? Sima Bu shook his head and could not help laughing in the heart. One must know that to comprehend the blade essence of raging fire, he had ventured alone to a desolate and huge volcano. He lived there for a full 3 years, day and night, feeling the turbulent flames. Finally, he grasped a trace of the blade essence of raging fire, which was considered very lucky compared to the unfortunate experts in the gold core realm who worked hard their whole life without ever being able to feel a trace of the essence realm of heaven and earth. Even though Jian Wushuang was born with talent in sword principle, it would still take a long time for him to comprehend sword essence. But at this moment? How is that possible? Sima Bu looked up unexpectedly, feeling completely astonished by what he was seeing. Jian Wushuang was still practicing his swordsmanship at this moment, but the speed of his sword gradually became surprisingly fast, so much that even Sima Bu could only see the flickering sword light. He is drawing his sword so quickly. And he is doing it freestyle without using sword arts, Sima Bu was shocked. He did not use sword arts to enhance the speed, like the Aurora sword art or flowing light sword art. He was just practicing freestyle, but it was still so fast. What does it mean? The sword flows with the wind becomes the sword. The sword principle of Gale. He comprehended it. Sima Bu was dumbstruck immediately. Note that it was only yesterday when he gave the book to Jian Wushuang. Also, he only learned of the existence of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Today he comprehended the sword principle of Gale from the essences of heaven and earth. What speed is that? Chapter 43. Chapter 43, Incredible Comprehension. Whoosh. Sword light flashed at an amazingly fast speed, just like a fish swimming in the water, shifting around naturally. It was quite a bit later when Jian Wushuang finally stopped practicing. Kid, I think I am beginning to understand why Blood Feather Tower chased you in such a crazy manner, Simabu said to him with a complex look on his face. To be honest, I have to admit that you are an exceptional genius. You have grasped the sword principle of Gale today even though you just learned of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Your talent completely outmatches the exceptional genius I mentioned to you earlier. If I'm not mistaken, although your natural talent is good, part of it must have to do with your awakening of the sword soul. Sword soul? Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart, then nodded, quietly approving. Indeed, when practicing his swordsmanship, he also realized that something inside him helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth. Even though it was difficult for others, he could easily grasp the sword essence of Gale. But what was it inside him that helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth? Undoubtedly, it must be because of his sword soul awakening. Sword soul. Something that drove Blood Feather Tower to chase after him desperately. Naturally, it must be extraordinary. It was due to the sword soul that he could immediately and swiftly comprehend a trace of the sword essence of Gale. Anyhow, I have already grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale. With it, my swordsmanship should be several times or even dozens of times more skillful than before. Jian Wushuang thought with a bright look in his eyes. Only a trace of sword essence of Gale could easily make his sword several times faster once it was integrated into his swordsmanship. Such an increase in speed also helped sharpen his swordsmanship, greatly contributing to its piercing force. It would cause his level of swordsmanship to increase immensely. Let me test it against a spirit beast first, Jian Wushuang thought quietly. Shortly after, he fought with a huge iron-backed bear. Its force was extremely dreadful and absolutely the most formidable spirit beast in the exceptional transforming sea realm. If he had encountered this huge iron-backed bear before grasping a trace of the sword essence of Gale, Jian Wushuang would have had no choice but to flee in a disorderly manner. However, now he did not even show a trace of fear. Kill? After releasing a low howl, with his eyes blazing like torches, Jian Wushuang waved his sword. Sword light flashed out across the air for several meters before finally striking the huge body of the iron-backed bear directly. The sword light was so fleeting that the iron-backed bear didn't even realize its body had been injured at first. Instantly, a flood of fresh blood poured out from the sword scar on its body. Though the sword scar was nothing to its huge body and strong defense, it was definitely enough to enrage the iron-backed bear. Howl? The howl from the iron-backed bear's mouth echoed in the surroundings. Its two giant feet stamped on the ground as it made great strides towards Jian Wushuang. Every step forward produced a minor tremor. Go to hell, human? The dark golden eyes of the iron-backed bear were a bloody color and its desire to kill Jian Wushuang increased dramatically. Haha, come on. Jian Wushuang began to laugh loudly while moving his sword to fight against it. After a while, a cold and dazzling sword light directly penetrated its defense and plunged into its throat. Iron-backed bears are formidable in both power and defense, but their speed is very slow. Now that I have grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, I can easily surpass it in speed. There is no chance for it to resist against my absolute advantage in speed. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly. Iron-backed bears, the most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Now they could easily be slain by Jian Wushuang. Continue? Next, the tests progressed forward as he battled one formidable spirit beasts after another, such as purple crystal-winged lions, phantom foxes, gibbon-shaped wolverines, 9 poisons pythons and so on. The most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm became the opponents of Jian Wushuang and were eventually killed by him. Time flew by. It had already been 1 month since Jian Wushuang entered the dark forest. The dark forest covered an abundantly immense area, stretching across 2 provinces. Although he had already traveled for a month, Jian Wushuang still had a long way to go before he would reach the Tianan province. With his hands crossed in the darkness of the forest, Sima Bu gravely stared at Jian Wushuang, who was practicing his swordsmanship in front of him. In his eyes, he could clearly perceive that every one of Jian Wushuang's extremely heavy moves interacted and integrated with the earth. Sword essence of earth. He has just grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, but in less than a month after that, he seems to have also grasped the sword essence of earth. Unbelievable, it's really unbelievable. It shocked Sima Bu to his core. It was really incredible for him to simultaneously grasp 2 kinds of sword essence within a month. However, this made Sima Bu much more curious about Sword Soul. What on earth is Sword Soul? And how did it create such a monster? It wasn't long before Jian Wushuang finished practicing his swordsmanship. Earth, warm and heavy. The sword essence of earth is exactly like this. Jian Wushuang forced a smile and rejoiced. He himself didn't expect to grasp the sword essence as easily as he did today. He grasped sword principle of Gale earlier, but only 1 month later he had also grasped a trace of the sword essence of earth. For his part, that must be the result of the sword soul. Great progress had been made in his swordsmanship in the past month. First, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path after 1 month's worth of life and death fighting and day and night cultivation. His current level was comparable to when he used the soul-taking secret skill to fight against Emo. At its peak, the 9th heaven of the divine path was equivalent to the exceptional transforming sea realm. Secondly, his swordsmanship and especially his fighting experience had made greater progress. Now, without a doubt, he was completely experienced in fighting. As for sword essence, he learned more tricks in the sword essence of Gale and became more skilled and flexible in the practice and use of sword essence. But more importantly, he also apprehended a trace of the sword essence of earth just now. It must be acknowledged that he had grasped 2 different sword essences of nature in this short amount of time. Characterized by its flexibility and fastness, the sword essence of Gale could make sword arts and piercing force much more powerful. As for the sword essence of earth, it was boundless and tremendous due to its heaviness and steadiness. If used perfectly and flexibly, these 2 sword essences could make his sword arts more dreadful and formidable. After a month of cultivating and fighting, I have killed numerous spirit beasts easily. Even the formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm are not considered a threat to me, so. Exposing a cold look in his eyes, Jian Wushuang made a decision in his mind. Chapter 44. Chapter 44, Bloody Moon Devil Wolf. What? You are going to fight against spirit beasts in the Gold Core realm? Sima Bu looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Just as water naturally runs downhill, he aspired to fight against stronger spirit beasts, ones in the Gold Core realm, to practice his swordsmanship. It was a fact that spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm couldn't pose a threat to him. Despite the big difference between the Gold Core realm and transforming sea realm, Jian Wushuang was still confident in his strength. As we all know, the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path could rival the spiritual power of the exceptional transforming sea realm. With his sword arts as well as the sword essences of both Gale and Earth, he had the ability to fight with spirit beasts in the Gold Core realm. Brother Bu, don't worry about me. With my current strength, I can fight against the weaker spirit beasts in the Gold Core realm. Even if I can't beat them, I can escape. If I can't escape, I can count on you, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. In the past 1 month, he got along well with Sima Bu, who always gave him references and guidance from nearby when he was fighting with spirit beasts. Jian Wushuang appreciated that very much. Alright, I still want to remind you that spirit beasts in the Gold Core realm are so powerful that you may be killed by them before I can help you out. You must be careful when you confront them, Sima Bu advised repeatedly. Certainly, I won't risk my life, said Jian Wushuang while smiling. Then he began to search for nearby spirit beasts at the Gold Core realm. Spirit beasts at the transforming sea realm in the dark forest were everywhere, but those in the Gold Core realm were rare. During the last month, they only met several spirit beasts at the Gold Core realm, and once meeting them, they chose to escape instead of fighting. Jian Wushuang searched for them for a long time, but he failed to find one at the Gold Core realm on the first day. However, he found a spirit beast already in the profound Gold Core realm the next day. Even though it was barely in the profound Gold Core realm, fighting against it was like playing with fire, so he decided to give up. Jian Wushuang didn't find a suitable spirit beast in the Gold Core realm to fight with until the 3rd day. It's a bloody moon devil wolf. Staring at the more than 1 meter high dark red devil wolf, whose whole body seemed to have been bathed in blood, Jian Wushuang desperately desired to fight it. Human beings. Just like Jian Wushuang, the dark red eyes of the bloody moon devil wolf also stared at him. Stronger spirit beasts are also much wiser. This bloody moon devil wolf in the Gold Core realm was as intelligent as a human being, so it could also feel Jian Wushuang's burning desire to fight. You, a small ant who has not even reached the Gold Core realm, how dare you fight with me? Go to hell. With a sudden release of all his strength, the bloody moon devil wolf moved so fast that only a bloody shadow was left in the air. Wearing a serious look, Jian Wushuang used his long sword against the bloody moon devil wolf right when its shadow flashed. Jian Wushuang used a mysterious angle to both stab and block the shadow of the bloody moon devil wolf as soon as its dark red shadow emerged. Immediately, an angry howl was released by the bloody moon devil wolf, accompanied by a wave of sound, easily bouncing his long sword back. "What?" Jian Wushuang said with astonishment. A mere howl was able to deflect his sword art. Aurora sword art. After a cold humph, Jian Wushuang released all his strength and produced many sword shadows at almost the same time. His sword arts, mixed with a trace of sword principle of Gale, made the sword shadows flash at lightning speed. Thump thump thump. The sky was almost filled with the whistling sword light. The bloody moon devil wolf suddenly attacked Jian Wushuang with its extremely sharp claws, which seemed to be able to split the void in two. Pum. Instantly all the sword shadows disappeared. At the same time, a formidable force was released from the bloody moon devil wolf and transmitted to Jian Wushuang through his long sword, causing him to shiver unconsciously. "It's so powerful that its force alone is enough to block me." Jian Wushuang looked serious. "Watch out!" yelled Sima Bu, who was watching and standing in a nearby treetop. Jian Wushuang instantly noticed that the bloody moon devil wolf had already opened its mouth, showing its sharp and bloody fangs, and was preparing to bite off his head. "Fuck off!" Along with an angry shout, Jian Wushuang moved his triple kill sword to generate a kind of heavy boundlessness. He integrated sword essence into his attack and used the sword essence of earth to angrily chop at the bloody moon devil wolf, finally making it step back. Anonymous sword art, blood shadow. With his eyes full of killing intent, Jian Wushuang instantly performed the first move of the anonymous sword arts. His use of the anonymous sword art was more powerful after grasping sword essence. The cold and sharp sword light flashed quickly as the bloody moon devil wolf abruptly lunged at him. Ding! A low crash sounded. Then Jian Wushuang tried to stabilize his body after being repelled. Sword killing movement. Jian Wushuang released his most powerful killing blow without any hesitation. Showing an angry look in its dark red eyes, the bloody moon devil wolf suddenly stretched out its cold and sharp claws. Clang! A low metal sound crashed, then there was a huge sword scar on the bloody moon devil wolf's paw, from which blood continuously poured out. After staring at Jian Wushuang with its dark red eyes, it shrank down into a blood shadow and fled directly into the jungle, where it disappeared. It escaped. While looking in the direction the bloody moon devil wolf fled, Jian Wushuang withdrew his long sword and displayed a strange expression. "Kit, are you okay?" Sima Bu came over to him and asked. "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang shook his head, but he couldn't help looking at his right hand that was holding his long sword. Actually, he still felt a shiver in his palm. "It is worthy of being called a gold core realm spirit beast. It's much more powerful than me. Though I wounded it with my sword-killing movement during the fight, it also hurt me with the formidable power from its paws," Jian Wushuang murmured. "Kid, you did quite well. You repelled it by using your sword arts. As a spirit beast at the gold core realm, it is definitely more powerful than you," Sima Bu said. "Still not good enough," Jian Wushuang said without any sense of satisfaction. "My swordsmanship still needs to improve, and I'm not flexible enough when using the sword principles of both Gale and Earth. If I could use the third move of the anonymous sword arts or perfectly combine the sword principles of Gale and Earth, integrating one into the other, I wouldn't have panicked in that fight. Alright, let's continue like this." Jian Wushuang continued practicing his swordsmanship while heading towards his destination. Time flew and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang and Sima Bu had spent 4 months walking through the dark forest before they finally reached the other side. Chapter 45. Chapter 45, Gold Dragon Palace. On the official road to the dark forest in Tianan Province. Boy, in front of you is Qingdong City. Due to its proximity to the dark forest, the forces of Qingdong City became entangled. Some of them may be the forces of Gold Dragon Palace and, of course, there are also some spies from Blood Feather Tower. Because of this, you need to keep a low profile when you go into the city. Sima Bu took a conical straw hat from his gold dragon ring, handing it to Jian Wushuang. Carrying the long sword, Jian Wushuang, whose clothes were in tatters, took it and wore it without hesitation. Compared to 4 months ago when he just entered the dark forest, Jian Wushuang obviously appeared a little calmer and his skin had also turned much darker. Because of this, his innocent appearance had vanished. In the city, Jian Wushuang wore a conical straw hat that slightly covered his face. Although he knew that Qingdong City was already within the region of Tiannan Province, and the intelligence system of Blood Feather Tower was certainly not as good as Tianyan Province, Jian Wushuang was still cautious. Led by Sima Bu, the two quickly arrived in front of a magnificent loft. A gold dragon hovered over the rooftops of the gigantic loft, in front of which two men were standing there coldly. Then Sima Bu brought Jian Wushuang inside. A large number of warriors were in the loft and most of them, like Sima Bu, were wearing a gold ring, apparently symbolizing that they were gold dragon guards. "Boy, wait for me for a while. I'm going to turn in the task," Sima Bu said. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded and then slightly raised his head, looking around at those gold dragon guards, who seemed to be drinking wine and chatting very casually. Yet he could feel their subtle killing intent. Brother Bu was right. Gold dragon guards, all of them are dangerous killers who often engage in life and death struggles. Jian Wushuang whispered. It took more than 4 months to finally fulfill the task. Sima Bu came back to where Jian Wushuang was, carrying a pot of wine. Then he said, "Boy, I took the task in the first place for the purpose of helping Ji Wuya. As for bringing you, it was just out of convenience. Now my mission has been completed, so from here on you are on your own." "Thank you for all your help in these 4 months, Brother Bu." Jian Wushuang nodded with gratitude deep down inside. Sima Bu really gave him a lot of assistance and Jian Wushuang secretly kept that favor in mind. "Haha, it's nothing. Oh yes. What do you intend to do next?" Sima Bu looked at him and asked. "I want to be a gold dragon guard," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Oh." Sima Bu smiled and said with a raised brow, "I knew that was the choice you would make. Gold dragon guard is an occupation that walks on the edge of life and death, making it easier to hone real experts, dangerous as it is. Besides, judging from your actions in the dark forest, your craziness makes you suitable to be a gold dragon guard. However, the gold dragon guard is divided into several different levels, such as 1-clawed gold dragon guard, 2-clawed gold dragon guard, 3-clawed gold dragon guard and golden dragon ambassador, which is the highest level. Considering your current strength, at most, you can complete the task required to become a 1-clawed gold dragon guard." "Yes, I see," said Jian Wushuang while nodding. Jian Wushuang often asked Bu about a variety of things those 4 months in the dark forest. Naturally, that included questions about the Gold Dragon Guard. Gold Dragon Guard was an occupation with high requirements. To even become a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard, the lowest level, one must at least reach the peak of the profound transforming sea realm. In addition, to become a Gold Dragon Guard, you had to complete a task assigned by Gold Dragon Palace. These tasks were extremely difficult and the chance of failure was high. With your current strength, as long as you are careful and not too impulsive, you have the ability to complete the task and become a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard. It isn't supposed to be difficult. Sima Bu laughed. Witnessing Jian Wushuang's growth, step by step, for 4 months, Sima Bu was definitely aware of his strength. "Follow me, I'll take you to sign up and accept the task of a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard," said Sima Bu. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then Sima Bu brought him to the counter in the attic, in front of which was a gray-robed elder with silver hair and half-squinting his eyes, who looked like he might fall asleep. "Mr. Hua," said Sima Bu with reverence, "my little brother wants to take on the task of a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard." The old man in gray looked up slightly, glancing at Jian Wushuang with his half-squinting eyes, and said indifferently, "What's your name?" With regard to my name, Jian Wushuang touched his nose, the corners of his mouth curling upwards as he said, "Just call me Swordsman." "Swordsman?" Sima Bu cast a glance at Jian Wushuang and burst out in laughter. "Take this token and come here again 3 days from now." The gray-robed elder threw a wooden token with a gold dragon mark to Jian Wushuang and then turned around without giving Jian Wushuang a second glance. "Is it that simple?" Jian Wushuang took the wooden token with great surprise. "What do you think?" "Go," said Sima Bu, smiling as they walked back. "This is Mr. Bu, right? Haven't seen you for many years." "I didn't expect to meet you here today," said someone, with a clear and unpleasant tone of voice. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang saw a black-robed man with a cold face and bird eyes coming over, followed by a purple-haired man. "Zhu Tao." Sima Bu picked his eyebrow, coldly smiling as he said, "Long time no see." Zhu Tao, his bird eyes flashing with a ray of coldness, then looked to the gray-robed elder by the counter. Mr. Hua, this is my disciple Dongfang Yu. He is here to accept the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard, Zhu Tao said humbly. Take this token and come back here in 3 days. The gray-robed elder still spoke coldly and also gave the purple-haired man a wooden token with the gold dragon mark. Zhu Tao turned around and his eyes swept the room, only to see the wooden token in the hands of Jianghu Shuang. The corners of his mouth quirked up as he said indifferently, Mr. Bu, the one who is behind you is your disciple? It seems that he has already taken the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard too. What a coincidence. This is one of my little brothers called Swordsman, not my disciple, Sima Bu said directly. Is he not your disciple? Zhu Tao was laughing, then turned around and looked at the purple-robed man. My disciple, this is your great master, Mr. Bu, whom I often mentioned, and the one next to him is one of his little brothers. You may as well say hello to his little brother. After all, you are going to work together to accomplish the one-clawed gold dragon guard mission. Yes. The purple-robed man nodded, then looked directly at Jianghu Shuang. The corners of his mouth at this moment quirked up as he said, Swordsman? My name is Dongfang Yu. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me. Chapter 46. Chapter 46, Dongfang Yu. Fight with you. Jianghu Shuang squinted his eyes and felt a little worried. Sima Bu said in a low voice, Zhu Tao has a history with me and holds a grudge. His strength is not as good as mine, so he does not dare to come to me in person, only sending his disciple to make trouble for you. Just ignore him. Is that so? Jianghu Shuang knew the reason. While glancing at Dongfang Yu, he shook his head and said, Sorry, I'm not interested. How come? Could it be said that the person Mr. Bu brought here is a coward? Dongfang Yu said with a cold smile and a loud voice, attracting the attention of the gold dragon guards in the loft. The gold dragon guards looked in their direction and immediately revealed a look of interest. As so many people stared at Jianghu Shuang suddenly, he pressed down his conical straw hat with a grim face. Zhu Tao, what do you mean by this? Sima Bu shouted with a cold voice. Nothing. I just did not expect that the person Mr. Bu brought here was so arrogant. Whatever the outcome is, we are going to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard together 3 days from now. He is too supercilious to even greet me, replied Zhu Tao with a sneer. Well, do you mean that no matter who challenge us, we must take it? In that case, I challenge you now. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me? Sima Bu said with a deep voice. Ha, Mr. Bu is making a fun of me. Everyone knows your strength. I dare not fight with you, Zhu Tao said casually. Joking? Sima Bu comprehended a glimmer of the blade essence of raging fire. He was even a 3-clawed gold dragon guard and he was at the peak of the primordial gold core realm. Sima Bu was obviously much stronger than Zhu Tao. Swordsman, will you always hide behind Mr. Bu? Being such a coward, what qualification do you have to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard? Dongfang Yu said with a sneering smile. You're right. Jianghu Shuang suddenly looked up with a slight smile. If it is just a greeting, I have no reason to refuse. Please. Jianghu Shuang. Sima Bu looked over in surprise. Don't worry. I know what to do, Jianghu Shuang said with a quieter voice. Jianghu Shuang accepted the challenge and it was decided the fighting area would just be the open space of the central hall. In the area with a coverage of dozens of square meters, stood Jianghu Shuang and Dongfang Yu, with a large number of gold dragon guards nearby, happily watching. While standing there with a long black stick in his hand, Dongfang Yu exuded a soaring aura. Long staff. Jianghu Shuang's expression changed as he drew the triple kill sword. Boy, be careful. Dongfang Yu smiled, followed by a quick move, then he instantly rushed over. At this moment, the long stick in his hands turned into a shining black light. So slow. Jianghu Shuang saw Dongfang Yu rushing straight over, but he didn't take it seriously. In fact, Dongfang Yu's burst of speed from the exceptional transforming sea realm was very fast, but compared with Jianghu Shuang who comprehended a trace of the sword essence of Gale, it was indeed a bit too slow. Though it was slow, the power was not weak. I'll use him to put on a good show. Jianghu Shuang faintly smiled and suddenly swung the triple kill sword, releasing a whistling sword light that divided the air. Clang. The triple kill sword directly collided with that shining black light, making a low-pitched percussion sound. And then the dark light turned into a huge snake, twisting in the air before instantly changing back into the form of a stick, aiming to hit him. What? Jian Wushuang seemed to panic as he hurriedly waved the sword to block. But he was still hit by the stick, causing his body and knees to bow. What's more, the serpent form lengthened unexpectedly, as if a large fierce-looking mouth was ferociously opening to bite Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang placed the triple-kill sword horizontally across his chest with great effort. Pum. A low noise was heard as Jian Wushuang was knocked back, retreating directly to the edge of the open space to keep his balance. Moreover, a trace of blood spilled from his mouth at this moment. What a piece of trash you are. Dongfang Yu placed the stick upright and said with an indifferent look, "You can't even take 3 attacks from my stick, yet you want to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard. Ridiculous." After he finished talking, Dongfang Yu did not bother to glance at Jian Wushuang. Instead, he went toward his great master, Zhu Tao, both looking at each other with a subtle smile. "Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. His stick technique is very strong. Besides, his cultivation has also reached the peak of the exceptional transforming sea realm. Also, his cultivation method seems unusual and his release of spiritual power was obviously much stronger than the average warrior in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Where did you find such a good disciple?" Gold Dragon guards acquainted with Zhu Tao were talking with their sights focused on him and Dongfang Yu, but no one even glanced at Jian Wushuang. After all, in this world the strong will always be honored. Since Jian Wushuang was defeated and could not even ward off 3 strokes, naturally he could not attract the attention of these Gold Dragon guards. I'm telling you guys the truth, my disciple is the son of my old friend, and he indeed has a bit of talent. I would like to seize the opportunity to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one recommended him, Zhu Tao said with a laugh. Dragon Palace. You intend to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one will recommend him. Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. The Gold Dragon Palace was very noisy because many of the Gold Dragon guards were talking about topics related to Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang, whom no one noticed, left the crowd's attention quietly, coming to Sima Bu. Sima Bu, who was drinking alone by the table, threw the wine pot to Jian Wushuang when he saw him coming over. Take a sip, Sima Bu said. Jian Wushuang caught the wine flask and took a drink without hesitation. He had learned to drink from Sima Bu in the dark forest during the last 4 months. Now, when drinking, he felt comfortable tasting the tangy and piquant flavor. Refreshing, Jian Wushuang could not help commenting. You could have beaten him head-on, so why lose deliberately? Sima Bu laughed with a lowered voice. Though others did not know the strength of Jian Wushuang, Sima Bu was fully aware of it. Apparently, Jian Wushuang lost the fight on purpose. This is, after all, a branch palace of the Gold Dragon Palace. The more people, the more interference. Hence, there may be some spies from Bloodfeather Tower. I have to keep a low profile. As it is now, everyone will focus their attention on Dongfang Yu, so no one will pay attention to me. Isn't that good? Jian Wushuang said and laughed. Haha, I understand your intention. But, don't you feel embarrassed being defeated by Dongfang Yu in front of so many people, with only 3 strokes? Sima Bu asked again. Compared with my life, losing face is of little significance. Jian Wushuang said, grinning and continuing to drink with his head raised. Chapter 47. Chapter 47, Dragon Palace. Having experienced the betrayal of Jian Menger and the pursuit from Bloodfeather Tower, Jian Wushuang had become more mature and prudent. He understands when to be tolerant and keep a low profile. Taking the battle with Dongfang Yu as an example, if he failed he would lose face, but if he won all the people would pay attention to him, and then the rate of exposure for his identity would increase significantly. Well, Brother Bu, do you know anything regarding the Dragon Palace these people have been talking about? Jian Wushuang asked. Dragon Palace. When Sima Bu spoke about Dragon Palace, his expression was full of obvious desire. That is the Holy Land for Gold Dragon Palace as well as the Qianzong dynasty. It is a gathering of real talents. It was said that there are countless treasures like cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Lots of things that can't be obtained in Qianzong dynasty can be found in Dragon Palace. At the same time, there is a variety of strong and legendary people in the Yin-Yang Void realm. Anyone who enters Dragon Palace will receive the best cultivation materials from Tianzong Dynasty. But not everyone can be admitted to Dragon Palace to cultivate. In Tianzong Dynasty, it is said that all the people in Dragon Palace are exceptional geniuses. So you can understand that only the strongest geniuses can have the opportunity to cultivate inside Dragon Palace. People with average talent are not qualified at all. Jian Wushuang could not help being stunned. Are all of them geniuses? That was to say, any disciple in Dragon Palace would be respectfully treated as a master in Tianzong Dynasty. No wonder it was called the Holy Land. Brother Bu, since the qualifications are so harsh, is Dongfang Yu qualified to enter Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course. Sima Bu laughed and said, but not everyone can become a disciple and join Dragon Palace. Firstly, he must be recommended by a Golden Dragon ambassador. Secondly, he has to pass the test arranged by Dragon Palace. As for these two conditions, not everyone can accomplish the first one. Jian Wushuang understood, the first condition was the recommendation from a Golden Dragon ambassador. But what's the status of a Golden Dragon ambassador? It was known to all that the strongest experts of the Gold Core realm, like Sima Bu, who had a deep understanding of the blade essence of raging fire, were just a three-clawed Golden Dragon guards. Only the supreme existences could be a Golden Dragon ambassador. That recommendation would be very difficult to get. Zhu Tao has been complaining that his disciple didn't get recommended, but if he really has the talent, there is no need for him to worry about the recommendation. Look at Mr. Hua at the counter. If Dongfang Yu really is a monster-class talent, why hasn't Mr. Hua recognized him in all this time? And nobody in Golden Dragon's subsidiary palace of Qingdong City except him has the ability to contact a Golden Dragon ambassador. Sima Bu sneered and said. Jian Wushuang looked at the gray-robed elder in front of the counter and smiled. Mr. Hua had his eyes narrowed the whole time and would not even look at Dongfang Yu, no matter how much Zhu Tao boasted about him. In fact, Jian Wushuang, if you are willing to work hard in the future with your talent, there is a chance for you to enter Dragon Palace, Sima Bu said. Me? Jian Wushuang shook his head. Having stayed at an inn in the Qingdong city for 3 days, Jian Wushuang went back to the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace after the 3 days' wait. Once Jian Wushuang arrived, he immediately saw many people holding the same wooden token, with the same Golden Dragon mark as him, waiting in the hall. That included Zhu Tao's disciple Dongfang Yu. So many people? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He just came in and didn't have time to find a place to sit down. Swordsman. A shadow appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, which turned out to be Dongfang Yu. However, Dongfang Yu looked at Jian Wushuang with despise at this moment. How dare you come? Why not? Jian Wushuang asked. You can't even fight with me for 3 blows. You are such a piece of trash. Did you come here to be killed? Dongfang Yu said and laughed. Even if I did, that has nothing to do with you, said Jian Wushuang as he glanced at Dongfang Yu. He didn't want to talk with Dongfang Yu because Dongfang Yu was just a self-righteous idiot in his eyes. For someone so weak, you shouldn't have such a bad temper, said Dongfang Yu with a sneer. Then he thought, boy, once the task begins, do not let me find a chance or... Dongfang Yu remembered clearly that his great master asked him to take down anyone who had something to do with Sima Bu. Jian Wushuang sat at a table alone, but not long after, a black-haired man walked towards him. You are swordsman, right? The man asked, smiling at him and showing great passion. Who are you? Jian Wushuang looked at him and asked the man. I am Ling Qianhao, but you can also call me Mouse. I came here to finish the task to become a one-clawed Golden Dragon guard, just like you. The man opened his palm, showing a wooden token with the Golden Dragon mark. Is there something you want? Jian Wushuang asked coldly. Of course. Ling Qianhao looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, is this your first time accepting the task for a one-clawed Golden Dragon guard? Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. This is my 3rd time. Ling Qianhao sighed and said, my strength was not enough, so I was unable to finish my task the other 2 times, only managing a narrow escape. If I can't finish the 3rd time, I will never become a Golden Dragon guard. Jian Wushuang fell into silence. He knew that a person could only accept the task for one-clawed Golden Dragon guard 3 times. If he failed all 3 times, he would never be qualified to become a Golden Dragon guard. I want to cooperate with you. When the task begins, let's work together. Ling Qianhao said. Oh. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Cooperate? Don't hesitate. Ling Qianhao continued speaking. I know that you fought with Dongfang Yu 3 days ago, and you didn't even last for 3 exchanges. You are one of the weakest out of all the people attempting this task, just like me. So if you work alone, you will be killed before you even have a chance of finishing the task. You are right. I will cooperate with you. Jian Wushuang said and nodded. Ah, that's right. Follow me, I will introduce a backer to you. Ling Qianhao pulled Jian Wushuang along as he left. Backer? Although Jian Wushuang was doubtful, Ling Qianhao brought him to meet a red-haired girl. Chapter 48. Chapter 48, The Golden Dragon Ambassador. Bossine, this is Brother Swordsman. You will work with us later. Ling Qianhao smiled at the playful girl. Swordsman? The girl looked at Jian Wushuang and said, I know that you fought with Dongfang Yu here 3 days ago, and you didn't last 3 strikes. Yes, that is true. Jian Wushuang touched his nose without denying it. I am Yin Min. You can call me Bossine like Mouse does. From now on, if you work with me, I can guarantee that no one will dare to bully you, said the playful girl Yin Min, patting her chest. Jian Wushuang thought that Yin Min was just boasting, but he still called out, Bossine. Yeah. Yin Min nodded without saying anything further. At that moment, Ling Qianhao said to Jian Wushuang quietly, Brother Swordsman, we are so lucky to have the backup of Bossine. Of course, this is because of our relationship with Dongfang Yu. Otherwise, I am afraid that Bossine would not help us. Oh, what do you mean? Jian Wushuang asked quickly. Well, maybe you don't know, but that Dongfang Yu is the sworn enemy of Bossine. They both also fought each other once. I quickly came to ask for her help after hearing that, and she agreed without any hesitation after knowing about the hatred between me and Dongfang Yu. As for you, Bossine would allow you to work with us because many people know that you were defeated by Dongfang Yu in only 3 strikes, Ling Qianhao said. Is there any animosity between you and Dongfang Yu? Jian Wushuang looked at Ling Qianhao. It's just a trivial matter, but I just really don't like Dongfang Yu, Ling Qianhao said. Jian Wushuang was doubtful and asked, Is Boss Yin's strength very powerful? Of course, she would not even lose a fight with Dongfang Yu. She is the strongest, aside from Dongfang Yu, among all the people who accepted the task for 1-clawed Golden Dragon Guard, Ling Qianhao said. Is that true? It seems that we have found a good backer. Jian Wushuang smiled mysteriously and showed his interest. At that moment, the gray-robed elder in front of the counter, Mr. What came out? Time's up. Now follow me, everyone, Mr. Was said, leading everyone directly out of the city. After they were out of Qingdong City, Mr. Hua continued to lead everyone, walking in one direction for most of the day without stopping. Mouse, since you have accepted the task for 1-clawed Golden Dragon Guard twice, do you know where he is leading us to? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know. Ling Qianhao shook his head, then continued speaking. The task from the Golden Dragon Palace is different every time. Only after we arrive at the designated place will we be informed of what the task is. So we have no choice but to follow him now. What were your previous 2 tasks? Jian Wushuang continued his questioning. I'm sorry. I can't tell you about the previous tasks, Ling Qianhao said. Why not? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Because that is the rule of Golden Dragon Palace. Any task from the Golden Dragon Palace is prohibited from being leaked out, and anyone who is found leaking it would likely be executed immediately. Ling Qianhao said seriously, but I can tell you that those 2 tasks were extremely dangerous. It was only with good luck that I was able to survive because most of the people were dead by the time the tasks were completed. After hearing this, Jian Wushuang wore a serious expression. They continued walking for 2 hours before they arrived at a big valley where Mr. was stopped. Have we arrived? Jian Wushuang and the others looked around, but all they could see was the vast landscape surrounding them and the huge valley. They could not clearly see what was in the valley. Mr. Hua, you are really slow. A cold voice was heard as a lofty shadow appeared in front of them. It came from a middle-aged man who had a long red robe and a cold expression. His eyebrows were able to display majesty without losing his temperament. While holding his hands behind his back, he looked over at everyone present with profound eyes. Everything and everyone fell into complete silence when that man appeared. Jian Wushuang, Dongfang Yu, Yin Min and everyone else who had accepted the 1-clawed Golden Dragon Guard task opened their eyes wide, looking at the man in great shock. Not because of how powerful and awesome his aura was, but because the man was floating in front of them. Yes, floating. Floating in the air. Yin-Yang Void Realm. It's a supreme expert in the Yin-Yang Void Realm. A legendary existence. All the people intently stared at him as he walked through the air. It was evident that the man was a supreme expert who had entered the Yin-Yang Void Realm. The Yin-Yang Void Realm? Jianwu Shuang pressed his hands tightly together as his eyes shined brilliantly. The Yin-Yang Void Realm had always been a legend. There were not many experts like him, and it was the first time for Jianwu Shuang to see an expert at this level. Golden Dragon Ambassador. Even the enigmatic Mr. Hu showed respect to the man and kept a low profile. Since you are finally here, we can start working, the man standing in the air said in a low voice. As you wish, sir. Mr. Hu nodded continuously. Upon hearing this, the old man turned around and suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. What speed is that? All these people who had not even reached the primordial gold core realm were stunned when they saw this scene. So fast. Although I am also very fast due to my understanding of the sword essence of Gale, I am just like a snail compared to this golden dragon ambassador, Wu Shuang thought. A few loud voices came out from the vast valley as soon as the golden dragon ambassador disappeared. Who is that? This is the land of our Tianhuan sect. Who are you? You should leave now. Which expert has come to our Tianhuan sect? The vast valley was the base of the sect. When the golden dragon ambassador was seen intruding into it, a loud warning came out from the valley. But after the expert in that sect learned that the man was a Yin-Yang Void Realm expert who could void walk, his tone became very respectful. At this time, a deafening sound was heard in that vast valley. Tianhuan sect? How dare you plot against the golden dragon ambassador from our golden dragon palace? Today is the end of your Tianhuan sect. Chapter 49. Chapter 49, Extermination. Boom. A severe explosive sound, like one would only hear during doomsday, burst and erupted from within the deep valley, around which a terrifying and horrible aura was simultaneously released. Afterwards, dozens of roars suddenly sounded from inside. Boom, boom, boom. Severe crashes continuously burst out from the depths of the valley, seemingly causing the heavens and earth to tremble. No one knew what was happening there, including Jianwu Shuang and others, who stood in astonishment outside the valley. All of them couldn't help holding their breath through the dozens of earth-shaking roars. It was not long before the valley suddenly became tranquil. Whoosh! The middle-aged man with a powerful aura reappeared among them. After glancing at Mr. Hu, he said, all 14 masters of the Tianhuan sect in the Gold Core realm are dead. You know what to do next. Yes, Mr. Hu nodded respectfully. Little guys, try your best. The middle-aged man said as he smiled again at the group and then left in the direction of Qingdong City. All the trainees lost focus as they stared at the middle-aged man. Only after he had completely disappeared did they begin to gradually regain control of their thoughts. Suddenly Mr. Hu announced with a muffled voice, now I will tell you the task. Listen carefully. All the trainees in the area made sure to listen thoroughly. The core of the Tianhuan sect, a second-rate sect in Tianan province, is located in the valley in front of you. There are 14 masters who are experts in the Gold Core realm, and many disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm. However, the 14 masters have already been killed by the Golden Dragon Ambassador, said Mr. Hu. Everyone was shocked into silence. The 14 experts in the Gold Core realm? In such a short time? They were killed. Amazing. All the expert in the Gold Core realm were killed in such a short time. So powerful, that is true strength. Everyone was so excited and they felt their blood begin to boil, even Jianwu Shuang. Though the masters are defeated, there are many disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm and the Spirit Path. The latter ones can be ignored, but you need to obtain the 10 interspatial rings printed with the symbol of the Tianhuan sect. They are worn by the disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm. To succeed, each one of you needs to seize one of those rings. Do you understand? Mr. Hu asked while looking around. All the trainees in the area understood. Only those who obtain one of the interspatial rings will be able to complete the mission, right? This mission doesn't seem so difficult. Someone in the area suddenly murmured. Only 10 interspatial rings? Said Yin Min, frowning slightly. This mission is more dangerous than the previous ones. Ling Qinhao couldn't help scolding them. Absolutely dangerous. Jian Wushuang wore a grim expression on his face as he spoke. This mission, to start with, the numerous warriors in the spiritual sea realm in the sect would fight with all their power. But more importantly, there were only 10 rings and over 30 trainees present. Yet one ring could only be used by one trainee. In other words, over 2/3 of the trainees were doomed to fail. And those who failed to obtain an interspatial ring in order to complete the mission would have to fight with the other trainees. It could also be said that they should pay equal attention to both the spiritual sea realm disciples in the Tianhuan sect as well as the other trainees from their side. Mr. Hua said, "Now that you know the mission, it's time to get started. Let's go." Kill? The trainees that were already prepared immediately rushed towards the valley. Jian Wushuang and his companions quickly rushed out as well. Whoosh! After leaping rapidly across the ground, 3 people quickly came into view of the great sect gate in the middle of the valley. The Tianhuan sect fell into a panic and loud noises could be heard from every corner. "Both of you stay close to me. If you move too far away, it's quite possible that you will lose your lives," said Yin Min, glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao. "Okay," said Jian Wushuang with a nod. "Understood." Ling Tianhao also answered and nodded with a grim expression. "Hey Yin Min, it's rare for you to look so serious, right?" A voice was suddenly heard. Then Dongfang Yu appeared with his 5 followers behind him. Yin Min disdained him and said nothing. Dongfang Yu didn't lose his temper. Glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao, he laughed and then said, "Yin Min, look at your 2 companions. One is joining the One-Clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission for the 3rd time and the other was defeated by me within less than 3 moves. You actually dared to team up with these 2? This has nothing to do with you. Piss off." Yin Min directly scolded him. Dongfang Yu's expression became quite serious, but he quickly recovered. Ignoring Yin Min, he turned his eyes towards Jian Wushuang, laughing at him as he said, "Hey kid, watch out for your life during this dangerous mission. After all, trash like you can easily die inside the Tianhuan sect." Then Dongfang Yu and his followers quickly rushed inside the Tianhuan sect. "What?" Jian Wushuang thought. He watched with a weird expression as Dongfang Yu left. "At the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace, I didn't want to risk being noticed by people from Blood Feather Tower. Because of that, I pretended to lose. But I didn't expect him to look down on me so much." Jian Wushuang touched his nose and shook his head with a smile. Then he immediately raced towards the Tianhuan sect together with Yin Min and Ling Tianhao. The moment they stepped into the Tianhuan sect, the warriors in the sect sensed their arrival. "Damn, people from the Golden Dragon Palace came to exterminate my Tianhuan sect. Keep dreaming. I grew up in the Tianhuan sect. My whole life is here. If you plan to destroy my sect, you will have to step over my dead body first. Kill them. Kill them. Kill all the invaders. Stay with the sect." Many loud roars could be heard in the Tianhuan sect. They had cultivated many loyal warriors. Though the 14 experts of the Gold Core realm were dead, the warriors and disciples in the spiritual sea realm chose to stay with the sect and fight for it, instead of escaping. Therefore, numerous disciples in the spiritual sea realm from the Tianhuan sect madly rushed towards the invaders. A violent fight was about to erupt. Chapter 50. Chapter 50, Slaughter. The large group of trainees who had accepted the mission immediately split up after entering the Tianhuan sect. Some teamed up while others began rampaging alone. The disciples of the Tianhuan sect also rose up in resistance. Jian Wushuang and his companions had just arrived in one of the yards in the Tianhuan sect when they saw tens of shadows charging at them, all of them in the spiritual sea realm. "You two follow me closely," Yin Min ordered coldly. Gripping her scarlet long spear, she immediately dashed forward. Jian Wushuang nodded at Ling Tianhao and followed Yin Min, his expression a little cold. Invaders. The sight of these 3 instantly triggered the killing intent of the Tianhuan sect disciples. "Kill them." Tens of shadows rushed toward them. Swish. A blurry spear shadow charged towards them, like a viper sticking out its tongue at its prey. For a moment, the lightning-fast spear seemed to create an environment in which snowflakes were gently falling. It gave the spear a poignant feeling. Slash 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 slash. The spear pierced 5 necks at once, leaving 5 corpses collapsed on the ground. This skill. Jian Wushuang couldn't help being surprised when he saw this. These disciples of the Qianhuan sect were only in the initial and profound spiritual sea realm. So it was not hard for Yin Min in the exceptional spiritual sea realm to kill them. But it was so much more difficult to kill 5 with one strike. What Yin Min demonstrated earlier caused his eyes to light up. Kill? The death of their fellow disciples didn't slow down the remaining ones. They rushed forward and launched a series of attacks towards Jian Wushuang and his companions. Jian Wushuang swung the triple kill sword in his hand at 2 disciples. With 2 clean slashes he easily ended the lives of the 2 who were only in the initial spiritual sea realm. Holding his dark dagger, Ling Qianhao quietly stabbed the disciples charging at him. He was incredibly fast in killing 2 of them. The rest were all killed by Yin Min. It took mere moments for the tens of Qianhuan sect disciples to meet their death. They're too weak. Jian Wushuang could not help sighing when he saw all the dead bodies on the ground. The Qianhuan sect was considered a second-rate sect in the Tianan province, yet it was far more powerful than Sword Marquis Mansion. But after the deaths of their 14 gold core realm experts, the ending was basically written in stone. The remaining disciples were all in the spiritual sea realm, with the majority in the initial and profound level. Rarely were any of them at the exceptional level. Unfortunately for them, those who accepted this mission were all at the exceptional level. They also possessed their own personal techniques. After all, anyone who accepted this mission despite knowing its extreme danger would certainly come prepared. Ling Qianhao, for example, might be one of the weakest among the participants who accepted the mission. But if you put him among the Qianhuan sect disciples who were at the exceptional spiritual sea realm, few could defeat him. None of the people I killed has an interspatial ring. What about you guys? Yin Min asked, looking over at them. None here. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Me neither. Ling Qianhao shrugged. This didn't come as a big surprise to them. After all, there were only a total of 10 rings. For how precious and rare they were, they ought to be at least worn by disciples in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. And none of those that they killed were at that level. Let's go, Yin Min said. The 3 of them then walked toward the depths of the Qianhuan sect. They did not even glance at the corpses on the ground. Though they felt sympathy for the Qianhuan sect disciples, they would never show any mercy in a fight. After all, they were on different sides. If they showed mercy, then the corpses lying on the ground would be theirs. Inside an underground secret room in the Qianhuan sect, there were 8 people wearing robes standing inside the room, wearing copper masks that only showed their eyes. A person wearing a black robe and a silver mask sat on a stone chair. Thud. The door to the secret room opened and a purple-haired old man came running in, panicking. He shouted anxiously, "Please, my lords. I beg you, help save our Qianhuan sect." The one wearing a silver mask looked up, revealing his pair of cold eyes as he looked at the purple-haired old man. He said indifferently, "What's going on outside?" "They're here. Men from Golden Dragon Palace are here. There are many warriors in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. Not only that, our leader and many of our elders are already dead. We don't have a single expert in the Gold Core realm that is still alive. We simply can't hold up against those warriors, so please help us." The old man didn't even finish his sentence before he collapsed on the ground with a bloodstain on his neck. Beside him, a man wearing a copper mask was slowly sheathing his sword. "My lord, what should we do next?" a copper-masked servant asked. 3 years ago, the Qianhuan sect leaked some information, scheming against a Golden Dragon ambassador. It was supposed to be a secret, but it was still discovered by the Golden Dragon Palace. Their intelligence work is truly amazing. The man with the silver mask continued coldly, "Since it has been discovered, the Qianhuan sect is bound to be exterminated. As for us, naturally it's best if we can avoid exposing ourselves. Those who were sent here now are only in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. If I estimate correctly, they're part of a one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission. Those rookies may not even discover this place if we stay here. And if they really do end up finding us, the Golden Dragon Ambassador would already be gone by then. Without the Golden Dragon Ambassador hindering us, it's impossible for those rookies to stand in our way." They were all afraid of the Golden Dragon Ambassador, who was in the Yin-Yang Void realm. The man with the silver mask was not an exception. When the Golden Dragon Ambassador was fighting with others, he did not discover them because the robed men were good at hiding their auras and were hidden in this secret room. In his opinion, the high and mighty Golden Dragon ambassador would no be so bored as to stay back and watch the rookies wrap up the mission after he finished killing all the Gold Core Realm experts. But what a pity that the extermination of the Tianhuan sect means we've lost a chess piece. The man wearing the silver mask shook his head and sighed. The black robe and that facial mask. They were obvious symbols of Blood Feather Tower, the strongest assassination association of the Qianzong dynasty. Chapter 51. Chapter 51, The First Interspatial Ring. In the Tianhuan sect. Qi. A long spear stabbed through the throat of a Tianhuan sect disciple without making a sound. Then, with an abrupt sweep, it heavily hacked towards two more disciples, making them step back. If you don't want to be killed, then leave. Yin Min, a nifty girl with a long spear in her hands, wore a cold expression while criticizing them. However, several Tianhuan sect disciples ignored her words and lunged at her, immediately attacking with their knives and swords. Kill them, Yin Min said in a cold voice. A flash of coldness appeared in the eyes of Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao, but suddenly, a cold voice and three auras rushed into the battle. These cultivators were stronger than previous Tianhuan sect disciples. 3 people at the level of exceptional spiritual C. The arrival of these 3 caused Jian Wushuang's expression to change. Since they came to the Tianhuan sect, they had encountered 3 groups of Tianhuan sect disciples who just reached the level of profound spiritual C realm and the initial realm. They had yet to encounter a single disciple at the exceptional spiritual C realm, not to mention encountering 3 of them at the same time. You two protect yourselves, Yin Min said in a low voice. Then, the long spear in her hands danced through the air like flashing stars and drifting snow as it struck towards 2 of the disciples at the exceptional spiritual C realm. Haozi, leave the exceptional spiritual C realm disciple to me. As for the others, it's up to you to handle them, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Yes, Ling Tianhao said and nodded. Although he had to fight against several Tianhuan sect disciples at the same time, these disciples were only at the level of profound spiritual C realm or initial spiritual C realm and were no threat to him. Those 3 at the exceptional spiritual C realm, that could threaten him, had been blocked by Yin Min and Jian Wushuang. How dare you 2 guys blocked me? Yin Min laughed loudly and then she furiously hacked towards the 2 people at exceptional spiritual C realm with the long red spear, blasting them with hazy spear shadows. Both of them realized how ruthless and tyrannical Yin Min was as they fended her off with all their strength. However, they were no match for Yin Min's spear skills. Though fighting against 2 enemies, Yin Min still gained the upper hand. Be careful, she is strong, said a person at exceptional spiritual C realm, seriously. She is only at the level of exceptional spiritual C realm. Why should we be afraid of her when we have a 2-to-1 advantage? Let's kill her. The other one sniffed and then they lunged at Yin Min again. A giant axe was shown in front of Yin Min and hacked towards her. Meanwhile, a flash of dark gold sword light appeared in front of Yin Min, traveling 10 meters in an instant. How ridiculous. Yin Min laughed as the look in her eyes abruptly turned cold. Divine spear of dripping blood. Clang, clang, clang. 2 flashes of spear shadow struck out successively, faster than those 2 people expected. And then, those 2 flashes of spear shadow stabbed into the area between the eyebrows of both disciples, immediately killing them. Good girl, Yin Min has a good command of her spearmanship. Jian Wushuang was still fighting with the other disciple at exceptional spiritual C realm. But he saw everything that happened, especially when Yin Min killed other 2 disciples at exceptional spiritual C realm on her own. It seems that I should also show a little bit of my ability. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly while looking at his enemy. Die. Only Jian Wushuang could hear his light voice. The disciple at exceptional spiritual C realm saw a flash of cold sword light in front of him, rapidly approaching his eyes. It was too fast for him to resist, quickly piercing through his throat. Meanwhile, Ling Tianhao also defeated his enemies. Swordsman, not bad. How did you kill someone at exceptional spiritual C realm on your own? Yin Min asked while looking at Jian Wushuang with startled eyes. I just have a good luck, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Really? Yin Min raised her eyebrow but didn't continue asking. Chapter 52. Chapter 52, Stealing Benefits from Others. Get out of here. Seeing those 4 people rushing towards her, Min angrily howled and raised the red long spear up high, hacking towards them with amazing power. The heavy spear shadow immediately swept towards those 4 people. What? Those 4 people changed their faces while resisting Min's spear. Then the 4 people were knocked back over 10 meters by Min before they regained their footing. Whoosh! Whoosh! Jianwu Shuang and Ling Tianhao immediately appeared beside Min. Do you want to kill people on your own side? Jianwu Shuang said in a cold voice. That interspatial ring should have belonged to us, but you guys snatched it. Those 4 people all had grim expressions as a burly man, the leader of them, growled, If you guys are wise, then hand over the interspatial ring or we'll. Otherwise. Min sneered and said, More than 30 people received the task, but only 10 interspatial rings exist. That means most of the people can't complete the task. This is a competition between us and the interspatial ring is in my hand. If you want to grab it, just come try. But who will get the ring hasn't been decided yet. Those 4 burly men felt unpleasant. They had just fought with Min and realized that Min's strength was stronger than any of them. Even killing 2 of them on her own was a piece of cake. Besides her, there were Jianwu Shuang and Ling Tianhao. They would probably suffer if they fought with them. Let's go. The burly man snorted, and then those 4 people reluctantly left. Jianwu Shuang and other 2 couldn't help laughing when they saw the group leaving. It's lucky for them to leave, otherwise it's possible 1 or 2 of them would be killed by me and Swordsman, not to mention Sister Yin. Fighting against 3 on her own is no problem at all, Ling Tianhao said with a smile. Fighting against 3 on my own? Min shook her head and said, You think too highly of me. Those who dare to receive a Golden Dragon Guard task are stronger than we imagine. Fighting 2 is possible, but 3 is not realistic. All right. Don't talk about it anymore. We have been fighting for a long time, now we finally have an interspatial ring. Give this one to me, and if we obtain more interspatial ring, they will belong to you too. How's it? Min turned to Jianwu Shuang and Ling Tianhao. No problem, Jianwu Shuang said and nodded. Of course I agree, replied Ling Tianhao with a smile. It was obvious that Min was the biggest contributor to the battle. She was also the oldest among them, so giving the first ring to her was only proper. Okay, let's go on. It hasn't been long since the slaughter started, so we have many opportunities to find more interspatial rings, Min said. Yes. Both Jianwu Shuang and Ling Tianhao agreed and nodded. The slaughter in the Tianhuan sect continued, becoming even crazier as time passed. Jianwu Shuang and other 2 had already been in the Tianhuan sect for an hour. Jianwu Shuang and other 2 suddenly looked up from the corridor and saw a fierce battle ahead of them. There were 2 sides in the battle. One side, disciples of the Tianhuan sect, and on the other side, their acquaintances that also came for the Golden Dragon Palace task. It's those 4, Jianwu Shuang said. Those people fighting against the Tianhuan sect disciples were the stout man and his 3 companions that they had just met. The first interspatial ring Min got was from them. They are in a bad situation, Jianwu Shuang said in a low voice. They could clearly see that those 4 people were in a bad situation because over 20 Tianhuan sect disciples were fighting against them. Among them were 5 disciples at exceptional spiritual sea realm. These 4 guys are really unlucky. It's unbelievable they were attacked by so many Tianhuan sect disciples, Min said and sneered. Look, Sister Yin and Swordsman, that man's right hand, Ling Tianhao suddenly exclaimed. Jianwu Shuang and Min looked in the direction Ling Tianhao pointed. They saw a Tianhuan sect disciple at exceptional spiritual sea realm wearing a lilac ring on his right index finger. An interspatial ring? Min felt surprised and said, Haha, the second interspatial ring has appeared. Let's do it. First, we'll join hands with those 4 men to kill the Tianhuan sect disciples, then we grab the interspatial ring. Yes. Both Jianwu Shuang and Ling Tianhao agreed and nodded. The 3 of them immediately rushed into the battle. 3 more bastards. Kill them. The Tianhuan sect disciples were crazy with bloodlust, immediately attacking Jianwu Shuang and the other 2 as soon as they saw them. The pressure on the other 4 who had been under siege this whole time was suddenly reduced by a large amount. It's them. The stout man changed his face after seeing Jianwu Shuang and quickly said, Run. We should get away while the Tianhuan sect disciples are fighting with them. What? The other 3 men froze. Why should we leave? If we join hands with them, it is completely possible to kill all these Tianhuan sect disciples and grab the interspatial ring, a purple-dressed woman asked. Our alliance surely can kill all of the Tianhuan sect disciples. But after that, can we get the interspatial ring? Don't forget that Yin Min just defeated us on her own. There is also Swordsman and that Ling Tianhao who has reached the exceptional spiritual sea realm. We are no match for them at all if we fight against them, the stout man said with a chilly expression. Instead of joining hands with them and then letting them take the interspatial ring, it would be better leave now and observe them secretly. After they finish the life and death struggle against the Tianhuan sect disciples, we can show up and obtain the ring without any effort. Good idea. Both sides will suffer great losses in such a fierce battle. Whoever wins the battle will be weakened, and then we can easily defeat either side at that time. I agree too. The other three soon agreed with the stout man. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.